very close to the slave quarters. The slave quarters was never closer to that field back there than about a mile. If you die while you're back there working in that field, you ain't getting there. They're going to toss you on the side and keep right on working. Nobody can afford to stop to carry you all the way back to that mass grave. That's why when they were emancipated in 1865, they ran from the Catholic religion in droves. Forced on them their entire life, no kind of benefit or reward. Most likely why Antioch is a Baptist church and not a Catholic. Also the reason though, we're in Louisiana, one of the largest populations of black Catholics in the world. I have cousins, y'all, they're brothers and sisters. Some of them are Baptists, some of them are Catholic. Because their mom was Baptist and their daddy's Catholic, so whoever they like going to church with when they were small is where they got baptized. This history shows you mass participation in the slave trade, though, like I was just saying. Because at this point in history, the church overrules most government. Pope says it, the government most likely doing that. We talked about it, green economics, Baptists and kings and queens, even taking part. So again, don't study this history just from the standpoint. Have to draw the parallels of how we still suffer today as a result of these same policies. Let's head on to the slave quarters. Walking in this direction.
Crazy. 25
Never be able to verify and document those people, so that plaque's missing in honor of them. This side of the wall as a whole is dedicated to the time of the international slave trade. We also call these people sometimes the indigo generation. They are, for the most part, if not all, born in Africa. First thing you're going to notice about these names, though, is there are very few African names on that wall, which was the stripping of the first essential human birthright. It's the first step in pushing you to being looked at as a piece of property or commodity, not a human being. You're exercising an extreme amount of power over somebody when you take their name from them in change. Y'all gonna see a lot of people here with Congo or Congo Nation listed as their origin point, and that is deceptive. And it's the stripping of another birthright. Knowledge of specific important because he shows you the slave traders didn't care what religion you were. Musa's Muslim. It's the Muslim equivalent of the name Moses. So whether you practice a native African religion, Muslim religion, made the slave traders no difference. They care about the specific goals they have to accomplish to settle the territories. So they captured Africans that already possessed specific skill sets to accomplish the goals. Their first goal when they arrived here was food supply. No levee on the Mississippi River when they got here. So everywhere you walk and drive today was underwater. It's swamp and bayou. Nowhere to grow food here. But rice grows on water, and the Mena Nation are skilled farmers of rice, okra, and watermelon. We think of those crops as American, y'all. They're native to Africa. The Mena are experts in draining and flooding the land for the cultivation of rice. So they brought them here to grow rice paddies on the swamps, drain the rest of the land and make it suitable to farm other crops. Musa, he's Mandingo, and they're a warrior nation. Hand-to-hand physical combat is all they do. The males are tall, athletically built, and physically fit. If you got 1,800 acres, mostly field, and you plan on working people 6 to 7 days a week, 16 to 18 hours a day, then the Mandingo is the type of physical stature that you want in that field. So it's going to take you a little longer to work him to death. Despite this being one of the most deadly forms of farming on the planet at the time, the major cause of death on a sugarcane plantation was literally being worked to death. Bodies exhumed with the tendons worked out of the joints.
I read that in New York.
Most important quote right here by Julia Woodridge. She says her mother had 15 children by 15 different men. Every time they sell her, they force her to have a baby for another man. That quote signals the end of the international slave trade and the beginning of the domestic slave trade, where they bred human beings for sale like livestock. mother is called a breeder. 15 men are called bucks, and their job was to basically make babies. This area is known as the Gold Coast in the time of the sugarcane plantation. St. Charles Parish next door. St. John Parish, where we are, as far up the road into St. James Parish is Vassar, Louisiana, right around where Laura Plantation is located. That's a 30-minute ride by car today on the river road. They called it the Gold Coast because at that time, over half of the millionaires in the United States lived right here on this short stretch of the river, east and west bank on these sugarcane plantations. The mortality rate for enslaved people on the Gold Coast was negative 13%. For every 100 born, 113 died. They got a labor shortage here. In the upper south, what we call today Virginia, Maryland, the Carolinas, they're farming tobacco and cotton. The work's nowhere near as deadly. Mortality rates average about 23 to 28%, and they got a labor surplus. So the men in the upper south, including Thomas Jefferson, began to breed their surplus labor for sale down the river to the Gold Coast and the rest of the deep south. And that's where the term "I'm slugging down the river" comes from. It's a threat. They use it against enslaved people in the upper south. Nobody wants to come here because everybody knows about the death rate. Average life expectancy for somebody coming to work on one of these sugarcane plantations was 10 years from the day you step foot here, regardless of your age. They put enslaved people to work at 10 years old, male and female. So if you get here at 10, you're most likely dead by 20. You come at 20, 30. Whatever age you are when you arrive here, if it's working age, you can add 10 years and you will most likely not live to see that birthday here. If y'all want to take some pictures on this side of the wall, read some quotations, please go ahead. If you have questions, y'all, please ask. If you told American workers today to go over there and build you another America, how much money is that going to cost you? Just in the wages. What happens when they unionize on you? Right. So even if we were all blue, we would have still been enslaved. It's just the fact that we ain't. And there's such a thing as racism. So the men said, instead of doing it to our own, we're going to do it to them. Best example I can give you is grown male in 1860, y'all, in the upper south is valued at about $250 to $300. The second I get him here to the Gold Coast, he's worth $1,000. In today's money, that's $27,400. He's valuable, right? The law says he's 3/5 of a human being. He's less than human. He's less than animal. He's property. And I got an insurance policy on my valuable property. So when you die, even if I killed you myself, I recoup 75% of my initial investment. I consider 7 years of labor out of him prime. So the 10-year life expectancy is perfect for me. That's plus 3 years. And I make the $27,400 that I spent on him back within 5.5 months of him starting work. Why would I feed him good? Why would I give you good medical care? It's a business and you're a commodity. A good businessman keeps costs low and profits high. It's just more cost effective for me to work every last one of y'all to death and go buy another one than it is for me to extend your life or give you good medical care or good treatment. And that's why we say economic first and foremost. If we were all blue, they were going to enslave us all, and they weren't going to treat us any different than they treated these people because there was no economic incentive whatsoever to keep you alive. And when you add that racism to that, of course, everything just goes off the charts. Let's go on the other side of the wall, y'all. These systems, y'all, they never leave us because they are economic in nature. So these systems don't change, these policies don't change. They change the costume. That's all. And they send them right back at us.
Still don't know who you are, right?
Still fight these same policies in our society today. This is the domestic slave trade side of the wall. That's why y'all see a lot of people with East Coast listed as their origin point. That refers to the Upper South. That's labor sold down the river. The most important plaque, though, is the first one right there, a copy of a true bill of sale. And that stems from the falling out between John Jock Jr. and Marcy, the two brothers here. April 30th, 1840, St. Louis Hotel, New Orleans. Bank auctions off 70 of John Jock Jr.'s human beings. And that's for a total of $57,075. In today's money, that's $1.4 million. And the people on that inventory were appraised just like property. Number 61, Siri, is 25 years old. She's a field hand. She should attract a value of about $600 to $700. Siri sold for $105 because she's listed as being an idiot on the inventory. A little bit slower than the rest of us mentally. Job required physical labor. Depreciates her value by over $500. Number 59, lady is 30 years old. She's sold with 5 children aged 8 and younger. They're listed with their mother. Package deal, $2,650.